Hello again, friends. This week we will return to the deep well of Mr. A. Milne. As you already know, he wrote these wonderful stories about his son, Christopher Robin. This caused poor Christopher Robin some issues because children can be very cruel, and bullying was thought of as normal back then. However, it did give the world these amazing stories of navigating childhood and unconditional love. This week, I was reminded of the dangers of assumptions, and it made me think of this story. So I will read to you Chapter 3, in which Pooh and Piglet go hunting and nearly catch a Woozle. The Piglet lived in a very grand house in the middle of a beech tree, and the beech tree was in the middle of the forest, and the Piglet lived in the middle of the house. Next to his house was a piece of broken board, which had Trespassers W on it. When Christopher Robin asked the Piglet what it meant, he said it was his grandfather's name, and had been in the family for a long time. Christopher Robin said you couldn't be called Trespassers W, and Piglet said yes, you could, because his grandfather was, and it was short for Trespassers Will, which was short for Trespassers William. And his grandfather had had two names in case he lost one. Trespassers, after an uncle, and William, after Trespassers. I've got two names, said Christopher Robin carelessly. Well, there you are. That proves it, said Piglet. And with that, I'm sold. It all seems perfectly logical to me. One fine winter's day, when Piglet was brushing away the snow in front of his house, he happened to look up, and there was Winnie the Pooh. Pooh was walking round and round in a circle, thinking of something else, and when Piglet called to him, he just went on walking. "Hello," said Piglet. "What are you doing?" "Hunting," said Pooh. "Hunting what?" "Tracking something," said Pooh, very mysteriously. "Tracking what?" said Piglet, coming closer. "That's just what I ask myself. I ask myself, what?" "What do you think you'll answer?" "I shall have to wait until I catch up with it," said Winnie the Pooh. "Now look there." He pointed to the ground in front of him. "What do you see there?" "Tracks," said Piglet. "Paw marks." He gave a little squeak of excitement. "Oh, Pooh, do you think it's a woozle?" Anyone know what a woozle is?" "It may be," said Pooh. "Sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. You can never tell with paw marks." Okay, now that is demonstrably untrue. They showed me how to tell the difference between paw marks at my local zoo. With these few words, he went on tracking, and Piglet, after watching him for a minute or two, ran after him. Winnie the Pooh had come to a sudden stop, and was bending over the tracks in a puzzled sort of way. "What's the matter?" asked Piglet. "It's a very funny thing," said Bear, "but there seem to be two animals now. This, whatever it was, has been joined by another, whatever it is, and the two of them are now proceeding in company. Would you mind coming with me, Piglet, in case they turn out to be hostile animals?" "Oh, good plan. You don't want Woozles to outnumber you," whatever a Woozle is. Piglet scratched his ear in a nice sort of way and said that he had nothing to do until Friday, and would be delighted to come, in case it really was a Woozle. "You mean, in case it really is two Woozles," said Winnie the Pooh. And Piglet said that anyhow he had nothing to do until Friday, so off they went together. There was a small spinney of larch trees just here, and it seemed as if the two Woozles, if that was what they were, had been going round the spinney. So round the spinney went Pooh, and Piglet after them. Piglet passing the time by telling Pooh what his grandfather, Trespassers W, had done to remove stiffness after tracking, and how his grandfather, Trespassers W, had suffered in his later years from shortness of breath, and other matters of interest. And Pooh was wondering what a grandfather was like, and if perhaps this was two grandfathers they were after now, and, if so, whether he would be allowed to take one home and keep it, and what Christopher Robin would say. I understand this train of thought. Every time I pass an adult store, I think about stopping in and buying an adult, because people keep leaving me unsupervised all the time. And still the tracks went on in front of them. Suddenly, Winnie the Pooh stopped and pointed excitedly in front of them. "Look!" "What?" said Piglet with a jump. And then, to show that he hadn't been frightened, he jumped up and down once or twice more, in an exercising sort of way. "The tracks," said Pooh. "A third animal has joined the other two." "Pooh!" cried Piglet. "Do you think it is another Woozle?" "No," said Pooh, "because it makes different marks. It is either two Woozles, and one, as it might be, Whizzle, or two, as it might be, Whizzles, and one, if so it is, Woozle. Let us continue to follow them." "Oh, except now you're outnumbered, so this could end poorly." So they went on, feeling just a little anxious now, in case the three animals in front of them were hostile intent. And Piglet wished very much that his grandfather, T.W., were there, instead of elsewhere, and Pooh thought how nice it would be if they met Christopher Robin, suddenly, but quite accidentally, and only because he liked Christopher Robin so much. And then, all of a sudden, Winnie the Pooh stopped again, and licked the tip of his nose in a cooling manner, for he was feeling more hot and anxious than ever in his life before. There were 4 animals in front of them. I'm getting a slight suspicion about what may be going on here. Do you see, Piglet? Look at the tracks. 3, as it were, Woozles, and 1, as it was, Whizzle. Another Woozle has joined them. And so it seemed to be. There were the tracks crossing over each other here, getting muddied up with each other there, but quite plainly, every now and then, the tracks of 4 sets of paws. "I think," said Piglet, when he had licked the tip of his nose too, and found that it brought very little comfort, "I think that I have just remembered something. I have just remembered something that I forgot to do yesterday and shan't be able to do tomorrow, so I suppose I really ought to go back and do it now." That's a good thinking. Also, I don't think I can lick the tip of my nose, and now I'm a bit jealous. "We'll do it this afternoon. I'll come with you," said Pooh. "Oh, it isn't the sort of thing you can do in the afternoon," said Piglet quickly. "It's a very particular morning thing that has to be done now, in the morning, and if possible, between the hours of, what would you say the time was?" "About 12, said Winnie the Pooh, looking up at the sun. "Between, as I was saying, the hours of 12 and 12:05. So, really, dear old Pooh, if you'll excuse me—" "What was that?" Pooh looked up at the sky, and then, as he heard the whistle again, he looked up into the branches of a big oak tree, and there he saw a friend of his. "It's Christopher Robin," he said. Is it just me, or did we all miss the first whistle?" "Ah, then you'll be all right," said Piglet. "You'll be quite safe with him. Goodbye." And he trotted off home as quickly as he could, very glad to be out of all danger again. Christopher Robin came slowly down his tree. "Silly old bear," he said. "What were you doing? First, you went round the spinney twice by yourself, and then Piglet ran after you, and you went round again together, and then you were just going around a 4th time." "Wait a moment," said Winnie the Pooh, holding up his paw. He sat down and thought, in the most thoughtful way he could think. Then he fitted his paw into one of the tracks. And then he scratched his nose twice and stood up. "Yes," said Winnie the Pooh. "I see now," said Winnie the Pooh. "I have been foolish and deluded," said he, "and I am a bear of no brain at all." "You're the best bear in all the world," said Christopher Robin soothingly. "Oh, how very sweet of him." "Am I?" said Pooh hopefully, and then he brightened up suddenly. "Anyhow," he said, "it is nearly luncheon time." So he went home for it. And that is the end of that chapter. Of course, there are many more, just as sweet and wonderful. But after last week, I feel we could all use a little story that is just darling. Well, now is the time I ask you to like, share, and subscribe. Please also leave a comment or request a story or even tell me a joke. I just love to hear from you. I would like to thank Pixabay.com for all the images and sounds and music and vectors and, well, everything they have there. It sure helps out my little channel. If you would like to support me on Patreon, Instagram, or Facebook, there are links in the description below. Also, don't forget the notification bell so you will know when I put out a new video. And of course, I couldn't do this without you. Your input, your requests, your friendship. I cannot thank you enough. And now a special thank you for my Patreon friends. Psst! Hey, Artie. Oh, hi, Larry. Is the cameraman around? Why do you ask? Well, we got a new Patreon supporter and a new moral supporter, so I was thinking, that it's time to film a new Patreon. Did you want to do it again? Yep. But, maybe we don't need to tell the cameraman. Larry, we would need the cameraman to film it. Yeah, I guess that's true, but maybe you could protect me? Anyway, we wanted to give a big old loving and heartfelt thank you to Robinson and Ida and Darren and Teresa and Bree Journay and wait, what did you just say? Oh, I figured it was somebody's name, so you was just mispronouncing it the way you always do. Thanks for that, Larry. Oh, you are very welcome, Artie. And Karen and William and my friends Josh, Colleen, and Callum and Celeste and Artie's mom and HW and Bernie and Mike from Japan and now also Kyla. And for moral support, we have Darla and also Alicia. By joining our Patreon friends, you get access to bloopers and pictures that are done by the cameraman and also more images of Rosie and Tiger.
Artie, what are you doing?
Oh, nothing. We're doing nothing. You don't have to come in here. Maybe you should say goodbye.
Artie?
Say goodbye, Larry.